Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. My name is Nur Nasrullah bin Nasir. Entry number 2020-950-767. Name of another presenter Ahmad Asjad bin Zainal Azira, Wan Muhammad Taufik bin Wan Muhammad Ramli, and Muhammad Hamka bin Hayat. Our topic presentation is about the Zakat. There are two issues related to Zakat. First issue is method of paying Zakat, and the second issue is paying Zakat to Asnaf outside Malaysia. These issues will present by my friend, while I will present about introduction of the Zakat. So let's proceed the slide. Introduction Zakat. According language and terminology, in terms of language, Zakat in terms of the language from the Arabic words Zakaya, which means clean, pure, filter, blessed and growing, meaning of clean and holy. According in terms of terminology, Zakat means to cleanse the property and cleanse the rich from the nature of stinginess and miscellaneous. In other words, it is to purify oneself from the nature of envy and the revenge against the rich. Why? In terms of Shara, it is issues certain property at a certain rate according to certain condition to be distributed to certain groups. There are two categories of zakat. First, zakat al-fitr. Zakat al-fitr in its term is that must be paid after breaking the fast of it and end of the Ramadan. The order to pay zakat fitrah begin in the second year of the Hijrah, which is the year when fasting is obligatory in the month of the Ramadan. To purify the fasting Muslim from useless words and deeds. Zakat fitrah is also to provide food to the poor and meet their needs and demands on Hari Raya 1 Shawwal. Time to pay Zakat al-Fitr according Mazhab Shafi'i and Hanbali begin with the setting of the sun on the last day of Ramadan. It is also the opinion of part of the Maliki school. In time of circumcision, Mazhab Shafi'i believe that circumcision before the Eid prayers and makruh and until the prayers are complete. Mandatory condition of property zakat. First, an individual who has a surplus of food or property from the needs of his dependent on the night and the morning of the feast. And second, children born before sunset at the end of Ramadan and last after sunset. And third, embrace Islam before sunset and the end of Ramadan and maintain his Islam. And the last, someone who died after sunset at the end of the Ramadan. Rate of Zakat al-Fitr. The price of the Zakat Fitrah for the state in Peninsular Malaysia is based on the local price by Bernas 4. Each superlocal grade A rice according to the weight of one Baghdad barrel, equivalent to 2.16 kg. The price of Zakat al-Fitr for the state and Sabah and Sarawak is based on the local price set by Bernas. Each for Vietnam's white rice for the state of Sarawak according to the weight of one bushel of Baghdad, which is equivalent to 2.17 kg. And the second category is the property of zakat. Property zakat is obligatory on individuals who have property and have reached the nisab, that is, reaching a certain amount of a property. Zakat on this property includes business revenue, agriculture, livestock revenue, gold, silver and currency, for which the property has its own nisab rate. Mandatory condition of property zakat: first, Islam; second, merdeka; third, perfectly mind; fourth, enough nisab; and the last, how enough. Property zakat rate. The rate of property zakat is 2.5% of the amount that is obligatory or eligible for zakat if calculate how a year hijrah. But if the how is calculate a year AD, the rate recommended by the Organization for Accounting and Auditing of Islamic Financial Institution is 2.577%. That's all from me. We'll continue this presentation by my friend. Thank you.
Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi ta'ala wabarakatuh. My name is Ahmad Azad bin Zain Azira, and today I'm going to be presenting about method of paying zakat. Generally, there are several methods of paying zakat. The first of which is not differ from the obligatory time when a property has enough nisab or more than a year. Zakat must be paid to those who are entitled to receive it. Therefore, the owner must issue the mandatory rate immediately if there are the following two conditions, which is firstly, the owner is able to pay zakat when the property is with him, and secondly, those who are entitled to receive zakat, which mean the 8 groups mentioned in the Quran. And then the second method of paying zakat is paid before obligatory time, which mean if the property owner wants to pay zakat before the obligatory time, they should look at the following situation, which is firstly, if he pays zakat before his nisab is enough, it is not counted and is not counted as zakat. This means that when his property is nisab enough and full year, he is obligated to pay zakat regardless of the property that has been issued before. And secondly, if zakat is paid after enough nisab but not a full year, it is still counted as zakat. This means that he doesn't have to pay zakat when his nisab period is enough a year later. And thirdly, representative doesn't suspend the distribution of zakat. Clearly here, the person delegate to distribute zakat shouldn't delay until the obligatory rate of zakat is given to him. If he procrastinates, he will also sin and be held accountable. Therefore, welfare body managers should take this matter seriously. They should know that the act of keeping the zakat collection property received from the owner as the working capital of the body's funds is an offense under Sharia. And the fourth method of paying zakat through the government. Zakat property is divided into two methods, which is firstly inner treasure and the secondly external property. Alright, so we're going to talk about the inner treasure first. So inner treasure is, which means inner wealth, is gold and silver, business, goods and rikas wealth. Property owners can issue zakat directly to those who are entitled to land through the government, even if they are required to do so. The government shouldn't demand it because the owner's inner property is more aware of its condition and amount. And then external property. External property, which is physical property, is livestock, crops, fruits and minerals. Property owners are obligated to hand over their zakats to the government if required to do so. The word of God Almighty said, خُذْ مِنْ أَمْوَالِهِمْ صَدَقَةً تُطَهِّرُهُمْ وَتُزَكِّي بِهِمْ بِهَا وَصَلِّ عَلَيْهِمْ إِنَّ صَلَاتَكَ سَكَنٌ لَهُمْ وَاللَّهُ سَمِيعٌ عَلِيمٌ, which means take some of their wealth as alms, which is zakat, so that with it you cleanse them from sins and purify them from bad morals. Alright, so next is delegate zakat. Delegate zakat, which means the property owner can also delegate to other people to pay zakat on his property. This is because zakat is a responsibility related to property that should be delegated to others. And lastly, intend zakat. It is obligatory to intend when paying zakat to distinguish it from kafarah and other alms, which is zakat. This is based on the famous hadith, innama a'malu binniyat, meaning indeed the practice is with intention. Alright, so next we're going to talk about is it permissible to do online transaction in zakat. So we're going to discuss this more deep later on. So zakat, when someone wants to pay zakat online, they need to present the intention and purpose of the zakat. That is, with the purpose of giving zakat to asnaf or amal zakat. If these two things are not done, then the zakat is not valid at all. So I'm gonna tell you about how to pay zakat in terms of online, right? Particularly income zakat. As presented earlier, so a person who obligate to pay zakat is those who have enough nisab and enough haul, that is income of more than a year. So they have to pay zakat according to the nisab that has been set by the zakat institution in their respective state, because the method of calculation and even the nisab rate for each pound state is different. So if their income is more than the nisab rate, then it is obligatory for them to pay. Example of incomes zakat are salaries and allowance, bonus, etc. So we have to issue the zakat in the amount of 2.5% of the total income in excess of the nisab within a year. So there are two ways for the payment of income zakat. The first is the gross income method, and the second is the net income after allowable expenses deduction. So for gross income just take the annual income of the individual. For example, I live in Negeri Sembilan, and the nisab in this country is about RM 18,789.70 cent, and I got an income around 42,000 for a year. Then I need to be multiplied by 2.5%, and the amount that will be obtained is RM 1,050. So that the result will be as a zakat. And while for net income after allowable expenses deduction, they will pay zakat with the total net income after the deduction offered by the state earlier. So I think that's all from me. So I'm going to pass this topic to the next presenter. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi ta'ala wabarakatuh.
Okay, Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi taala wabarakatuh, and hello everyone. So I will like to continue the presentation from my group's member, which about fiqh muqarran, zakat matters. Okay, before that, as the third presenter from my group, so firstly I would like to introduce about myself. Okay, my name is Muhammad Taufiq bin Wani Muhammad Ramli, and my matric card number is 2020878609. Okay, for information, what I want to highlight for this presentation is about issues paying zakat to asnaf outside Malaysia. Okay, so let's take a look from the first slide. Okay, before we dive into the issues in this presentation, so I'd like to give a brief explanation the true meaning of asnaf. Okay, as we can see from this slide, asnaf refer to a group or person who is entitled and eligible to receive donation or alms. Okay, for the second, as we can see, donation or alms here can be known as zakat from any existing zakat institution, which is this is intended to improve the socio-economic situation of the poor and also for the needy. Okay, next, asnaf have been mentioned in Surah Al-Baqarah, which is divided into 8 groups, and for the main groups are the fakir, fukara, and needy, which is masakin. Okay, next we move on the next slide, which is about the issues of the transparency in the distribution of zakat by agent or amils. Okay, as we can see, firstly in the slide, which is the issues can create a polemic regarding transparency through in redistribution, which is estimate at 25% to 50%. That is with no clear distribution wakalah. So have we can explain, this can also be seen as the practice that occurs in the federal territory. And furthermore, in general, each return to any agent is one of the large amount of rates. Okay, next is the distribution of zakat that is implemented is limited to the 13 groups, which can be explained through the distribution that is done abroad, for example, as in Palestine, Syria, and others. So in the contrast to the distribution that has been implemented in this country, which has not yet been met and is able to meet the needs of the Asnaf group, especially to state that only receive low zakat collection rates. And the last one is from according to the view of Shafi'i section, that is necessary for each distribution to be made to the eligible parties, which is namely the 8 groups of Asnaf, which has been mentioned and proved by Surah At-Taubah, ayat 16, which is the translate have been explained. Indeed, the alms zakat is only for the poor and the needy, and the amirs will take care of it, and the convert was hurt, tamed, and for the slave who want to free themselves, to those who are in debt, and to spread in the way of Allah, and those who travel the decision on the way. It is the decree from Allah, and remember, Allah is knowing all. Okay, then we move to the next issue, which is about perspective of Islamic law in the issues of zakat collection. Okay, as you can see, the first issue is about the law of collection of zakat is actually closely related to the polemic of the transfer of zakat between areas involving the Islamic Sharia treasury. Besides that, the role of zakat transfer usually occur because of the action of collecting zakat in one area and taken out to another area. So can be explained is about to strengthen the argument is true by hadith Ibn Abbas and Auf bin Abu Juhayfa, which is the basis on which the party either want to the transfer of zakat property and the party does not require or authorize the transfer of such as property. So from the hadith has been stated is the zakat collector of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam arrived in our area, and he collect pupil zakat from pupil zakat rich from among us and distribute the zakat to the poor from among us. Hadis riwayat At-Tirmidzi. So can be explained through the hadith above is the researcher traced from the discussion of the ulama, which is related to the law to transfer zakat property from one place to another place, where there are different of opinion ulama in determining the law. So this is true by Abu Hanifa and Al-Layth who require it. And then it's different from the view of Asah, which Al-Munziri cite the view of Shafi'i school, Maliki and other Jamhur who do not require it. Okay, so for the last slide is about view of the contemporary scholar, which is there are several contemporary scholars who discuss issues involving the collective transfer of zakat property. So let's take a look. Okay, firstly, is to transfer the zakat property as from the obligatory areas that is one place of work is allowed, which is a law because the asnaf for the area receive a sufficient distribution of zakat rates. Thus, it become a must and has been agreed by the majority of school of fiqh. Okay, then further relate to the original law. In the starting, the zakat distributed to the population in which area there is a collection or payment zakat, as well as the remaining zakat can be distributed to any others area with a rajid maslahah. Okay, then in addition, there are several forms of the transfer of zakat property available. Among them is that the transfer is done through the government in the area or any party responsible for the maintaining the benefit, which has been mentioned in this slide. The transfer of zakat property to the area of jihad fi sabilillah, mu'alaf, dakwah organisation, education, health, disaster and others. Then for the last one, as we can see for the slide, for the transfer of zakat property which is other than what has been stated above, the validity of zakat paid by the zakat payer is not revoked, except on the condition that is given the correct to the Asnaf group. Okay, I think that's all from my presentation. So I would like to pass to another group's member to continue their presentation. I think that's all. Assalamualaikum.
Okay, Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. My name is IMU6015B and I will continue my friend presentation about zakat matters, and I will present the issue of paying zakat to asnaf outside of Malaysia. Okay, the law of transferring or pay zakat to other country. Okay, scholars differ on this issue. In general, this view is divided into two main points. Okay, firstly is transferring zakat without the desire, need or reason allowed by the Sharia. And the second, transfer zakat based on the wishes, needs or reason prescribed. Okay, as for the first issue, which is to transfer without intention, the majority of scholars says that is not permissible to transfer zakat without intention, except the Hanafiya scholar, who say that is possible, but the law is makruh. Okay, for the second issue, which is to transfer zakat with a Shari'i intention or reason, then the fuqaha have agreed that it is permissible and should be, especially in the case of Muslims who are more in need, or there is no need in the country of origin of zakat, or if they have excess zakat property. Okay, all this situation can be used as a basis or a Shari'i reason to transfer zakat funds to other places that are more in need or desperate. Okay, this is the inspiration of an authentic hadith from Ibn Umar radiallahu anhu, that the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam said, the human being who is most loved by God is the human being who is the most beneficial to others. The best that in the sight of Allah is the joy that you put into the soul of your Muslim brothers, or you lift the hardships and difficulties from him, or you pay off his debts, or you relieve his hunger pangs. Indeed, if I walk in my Muslim brothers to fulfill a wish, I will rather do i'tikaf in this mosque, where is Masjid Nabawi, for a month. Whoever restrains his anger, then Allah Almighty will cover his shame. Whoever controls his anger despite being able to do so, Allah will fill in his heart with pleasure on the day of resurrection. Okay, whoever wants to fulfill the desire of his brother until it is finished. Then God will set his feet on the day on the day when all the feet of men tremble. In that, bad moral will destroy all good deed, just vinegar destroy honey. Okay, lastly is conclusion. In conclusion, the hadith and other mentioned are not in the nature of a decision on the maximum rate or the rate that can be accepted by the poor or those who are eligible to receive zakat. It is a guide and backup for us to research and study further to make comparison and measure the relativity of aid rates with the current situation and the financial position and economic realities of today. Regardless, zakat cannot be given arbitrarily without certain guidelines and rules. That's only for me. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.